Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and today is our final video in our transfer portal recap series here with the Vanderbilt Commodores. So Vandy is obviously coming off of probably their best year in school's history behind Diego Pavia, winning 9 games, just missing out on the college football playoff. But now Pavia's gone. A guy like Eli Stowers is gone. So you have to look to the transfer portal to really fix a lot of those needs immediately. Obviously, going to high school recruiting, they brought in Jared Curtis at quarterback, who is that 5-star kid who looks very impressive. But you got to be able to portal in, talent around him. So let's talk about what they lost first, and then we'll get into what Clark Lea was able to add to his roster there in Nashville. Starting off with who they lost, a guy who I really like watching play is Trey Richardson out there at receiver. He had 46 catches for over 800 yards and 7 scores last season. He was really Vandy's vertical threat last year. I mean, literally just run downfield, be faster than everybody. This guy's a lightning bolt. At 5'10", 175, I don't remember a DB last year who could keep up with him, so Trey is just a total lightning bolt burst of speed. He's a pretty big loss there for Vandy's receiver room, but we'll talk about how he backfilled that in Nashville here in a little bit. On the defensive end, they lost Linus Zunk coming off the edge. He's 6'6", 263 there on the defensive line. He had 3 sacks last season, so obviously he has the disruption. He has that production there, and he was just a veteran presence on that defensive line. He's played for a while, originally from Germany, so they have to also replace Linus Zunk there coming off the edge. And then in the secondary, Brandon Fontenette at safety, he's out. He had 52 tackles and a forced fumble. He really was an enforcer there for Vandy, and he was kind of a jack of all trades, being 6'2", 220. You can kind of put him at safety or at linebacker. He can really play wherever on that defense. So Clark Lea loses a versatile piece on that defense. But now let's get to who they brought in. Let's get to how Vandy backfilled their roster and who is going to be in Nashville this year. Brian Allen Jr., an edge from Iowa. So he beat him in the bowl game last year with the Hawkeyes, and then he just got on a plane to Nashville to go play for him this year. 6'3", 245 coming off the edge. He only had half a sack last season, but he did have 3 the year before, so you see that there is production there. There is potential there for him to put up good numbers. I like this ad a good bit. Obviously, losing Zunk off the edge, you do need to replace. So Brian Allen is a good bit smaller than Linus Zunk, 3 inches and 20 pounds lighter. That's not always a bad thing. Being a little smaller, maybe a little more quicker, a little more bend, a little more agility. I do believe you'll see that play very well into Brian Allen's strengths, and I think you'll see that Allen is going to have a pretty good year there in Nashville with the Commodores. Then at receiver, a guy who I'm really pumped for, Ja'Cory Thomas, coming in from Old Dominion. Old Dominion had some really good offensive players move up this year in the portal. Ja'Cory Thomas isn't just another one of those guys. He's 6'3", 210. He had 41 catches last year for over 700 yards and 5 scores. He had a very similar average per reception as Trey Richardson. Now, he is not as fast as Trey Richardson, but what Clark Lea did, kind of moneyball. We lost Trey. Let's recreate him in the aggregate. We have a guy who can go create those downfield plays for us, even if it's not in the same style where it's just running right by you. It's being 6'3", 210. It's being bigger. It's going up and making those contested catches downfield in a big situation. So Ja'Cory Thomas, I think, is going to be just as productive for Vandy as Trey Richardson was, even though he'll do it in a slightly different way. But I'm very excited to see Ja'Cory play this year. And then one of the best ads that Vandy made in the portal, that's not getting a lot of noise. Getting Ricardo Jones, a safety from Clemson. He's 6'2", 195 back there in the secondary. Guy had 6 picks last season, on top of 3 other pass deflections. So he's a chaos maker back there. If you just have a guy who's a ball hawk and can grab you a pick in the second half of a big game, that can be the difference between making the playoff and not. We saw Vandy, say, that game against Texas or the game against Bama last year. One timely interception, and that whole game can flip, and Vandy's season could have gone way differently. So getting Ricardo Jones is a massive ad. Having a 6-interception guy who's pretty young. It was only his second year last year in college with the Tigers, had 6 picks. So I'm excited to see how he keeps developing, if he's able to, enhance those ball hawking skills even more and cause some more havoc here for Vandy in the secondary. Just some other guys who they brought in. They brought in Bo Johnson, a no tackle from North Dakota State. Getting an alignment from NDSU was always good. They brought in Cole Adams, another receiver from Alabama, so with an SEC transfer there. CJ Jackson off the edge from LSU, so some more D-line help. No, they didn't really make a splash in the portal, which isn't shocking for Vanderbilt, but I say that like this isn't kind of a new age Vanderbilt because they made a big splash in high school recruiting getting Jared Curtis. And you know that Vandy has money. They have access. Well, sorry, they don't quite have access yet, but Vanderbilt as a university has money. The only hurdle is making the people who graduated from Vanderbilt at Vandy who do have that money, making them care enough about sports. making them care about football and basketball. Because you're seeing this tide turn. Vandy's able to compete in this day and age of athletics, so the money is there. They have resources. Just will they be allocated to sports with the portal class, with the recruiting class? Obviously, they don't match up with the rest of the SEC quite yet, but you're seeing a bit of a move towards, let's start investing in these sports and let's go win a championship at Vanderbilt. So this class and the classes to come, I do think you'll just see them get better and better, but there are plenty of good players in this portal class for Vanderbilt, and we'll get into a full roster breakdown, really assess expectations for the Commodores this season in their first year ADP. That means after Dago Pavia. But we'll see how the Commodores do this season. So if you enjoyed this transfer portal series, which is now done, and you want to see schedule breakdowns, win projections, full roster breakdowns, full talent analysis, subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I'll be doing that all summer long leading up to football season. So I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you next time.